Mr Rowley, can you move the amendment in your name too?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. In moving the amendment in my name, can I begin by today congratulating Angela Constance in her new role and Kevin Stewart and Jean Freeman in their new roles. When it comes to tackling the deep-rooted poverty and inequality that exists in far too many communities up and down our country, I would like to think that there is a majority in this Parliament that want to do so. I also believe that there is a majority in our country that wants us here in this Parliament to use the powers of their Parliament to create a more fair, a more just Scotland, where all of Scotland's people can share in the wealth and prosperity of our country. As the Poverty Alliance has stated, where you're born, where you live and who you are should not stop you from reaching your full potential. But the fact is, right now here in Scotland, where you're born, where you live and who you are does stop so many people from reaching their full potential. The community's social inequalities brief is very varied and very wide. But if we are to create a fairer Scotland, we have to join up all those parts and focus around a comprehensive anti-poverty strategy for Scotland. Indeed, it is not just this portfolio that needs to be joined up, focusing on an anti-poverty strategy. It is every portfolio across government. It is every department within local government. It is the growing and dynamic third sector we have in Scotland. And at the heart of any strategy must be communities and must be people. As SCVO have commented, and I quote, "Many in our sector believe that the devolution of new powers to the Scottish Parliament offers a chance to take policy in a new, innovative and progressive direction." I agree, and Labour in this Parliament and in the country will work with all partners and stakeholders to push for a more progressive and bolder approach to that which we have seen to date. We must use these powers over the next 5 years to move beyond the reasons for not doing things, to create a society that can and will tackle the big issues facing people and communities every day of their lives. We will set out in the coming weeks and months our approach to these issues, and our starting point will be to prioritise based on the state we are in. Energy Action Scotland is calling for a discussion on how to eradicate fuel poverty in Scotland. Age Scotland state, and I quote, "Last winter, 1,200 people died needlessly because they lived in poorly insulated housing or in homes that they could not afford to heat." So let us have that discussion, involve our partners and build a consensus around a Warm Homes Bill that will move us towards the eradication of the blight of fuel poverty for all of Scotland's people. Let us also be bolder in our approach to tackling what Shelter Scotland call Scotland's housing crisis. It cannot be right, and it is not right, that in 21st century Scotland we have hundreds of thousands of people desperately trying to get a social landlord to give them a house, with hundreds of thousands more living in housing that is not suitable for their needs. The government must be bolder. We must use the powers of this Parliament to build the houses we need and work with all partners to get this programme going and to get it going now. We need a clear, measurable plan that sets out how we are going to address Scotland's housing crisis. How are we going to work with local authorities and house builders to ensure that it is the right kind of housing to meet the needs of people and communities? Sitting alongside that, we need to know how we will ensure the wider benefits that will come from a national house build programme for job creation and skills development for local communities, and how we will achieve that. Indeed, full employment, decent employment and well-paid employment must be seen as a key tool for tackling inequality and poverty. And that again requires joined-up government and joined-up working at every level. And that is why we are clear that austerity will not work for Scotland. Austerity stops the investment that is needed at the local level to provide the focused support to tackle the deep-rooted deprivation that is also familiar in so many communities up and down our country. It stops the investment that is needed in early years, in education, in skills. That is why today Labour is clear that we must use the powers of our Parliament to bring forward an alternative to cutting Scotland's future. We should re-establish the principle that those who can afford to pay a bit more are asked to do so. The benefits of investing in Scotland's future will be shared across all sections of society. Poverty and deprivation impacts on everyone. A Scotland free of poverty, free of deprivation, will be a Scotland of true aspiration, where all the people of Scotland share in the prosperity of our nation. This Parliament has given the opportunity to show leadership, to give direction and unite all of Scotland behind the goal of eradicating inequality, poverty and deprivation from the 21st century Scotland. It was Nelson Mandela who said, "Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity, it is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural, it is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the action of human beings. In our case, by the leadership and action of this Parliament and of our government in Scotland. We have a great opportunity to bring about social justice for all of Scotland. Let's make sure that we grasp that opportunity.